Obviously, I'd gotten to meet both of you. Ezra, we had you on here last year, right before the rocket boom you've been on. So it's nice to just check in on the different rockets in space from machine cinema. But Alex, I think this might be our first time actually having you on here. We were trying to do this before.
For a while.
I've gotten to hang out with you in one of my other lives, but in person we've gotten to hang. But this is really cool because, we often meet people that are building things, or it's fun to just meet creators in general. But I saw what you guys made with your film as your own, just real life collaboration, the types of things we love seeing that happen when people sometimes meet at our Gen Jams, and this comes out of it. But this is just happening in the space. Like, people are finding collaborations. I want to hear about how this came together, because you're both individually such awesome stories of what's happening in the space and how you came together. We're going to talk about your film, LRIP, if I'm pronouncing it, LRIP, if I'm using my French middle school learning. But before we do that, if I can do a little bit of housekeeping, we love sort of calling out the people that make this possible. We have our friends at CopySite, who we actually did a Robo Dojo with. If you haven't found that on our YouTube channel, it's a really great deep dive, not just on their tool, but really the copyright space in general, which is for anybody that's actually trying to build a business in this space. It's super required viewing. But most AI creators really have no idea if their output is too close to something that's protected, and that's exactly where things can get expensive. And CopySite is an IP detection tool that scans your AI-generated content and flags potential copyright conflicts before they become problems. If you're shipping creative work professionally, this should be in your toolkit, and it's free for Machine Cinema members. So we will reshare those codes, which we really almost just want everybody to sort of be figuring out how this really feeds their pipeline. It's something Tommy at CopySite was excited to share with our community, obviously for his own exciting reasons to see how the tool's doing. And also our friends at Flick, who we're continuing to do more with. We actually have a Robo Dojo with them soon. If you've ever had 5 AI tools open at once, re-explaining your project to each one, Flick is built for you. It's a generative computer for creative professionals, text, image, video, and audio in one system that actually remembers your context across sessions. And it's not just a chatbot, it's a general purpose tool. So very, very in line with all this amazing agentic stuff that's happening in the space. And we had an incredible Gen Jam with them, and probably some of the most amazing films we've seen at a Gen Jam. Which starts to insert, where does the filmmaker get to rocket boom off of these new floors that are coming up off of tools like this. So excited to be working with them. But back to our friends here, Ezra and Alex. I mean, as far as you even have a presentation, because you just did a version of this in person here in LA, right? We got to get together IRL and talk about filmmaking. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Amazing. All right. So hi, everyone. I'm Alex Naghavi. I'm going to share my screen, and we've actually put a presentation together that introduces a bit about me and my background, and then Ezra's background, and then we'll show you LRIP and then the making of. So let me share my screen. I'm obviously going with a red theme today. All right, so yes, my name is Alex Naghavi. Hello. If you can't tell from my accent, I am Australian, born and raised in Sydney, Australia, but also grew up in Brisbane. A lot of cultural influences at a young age from Ken Doan and Albert Namatjira, and I just always knew I was going to be some sort of creative, some sort of artist, I guess. And thankfully, I had really supportive parents that allowed me to kind of pursue that as a career. And so part of that was finding something that I could pursue in sort of a commercial sense. And that's where I landed at the Queensland College of Art, which is one of the most prestigious colleges in Australia. And I did a Bachelor of Design with majoring in communication design and visual culture. And that's where I really learned about like semiotic analysis and all of this stuff around art history, and just a deep respect for the theory behind why we create what we create. And it was at this graduate exhibition where I actually got a few industry offers, and one of them was a company called Joseph Mark, which is a global boutique design and venture studio based out of Brisbane, Australia. And I started as an intern, and I made my way up to being a executive creative director and partner of the company. And I was there for 17 years. So it was a very long time and very odd journey in a way, but got to work with a lot of luminaries and massive companies. And also I got to be exposed to all the things that I love, which was design, tech, venturing, and storytelling. Within design, my background's in branding and digital product design. Within the tech space, it's really everything got to do with emerging tech, It was like things in XR and VR, AI, and then in the venturing space, we were a venture studio, which meant that we incubated our own ventures. We also partnered with companies from 0 to 1, and yeah, we had a ton of learnings, a lot of failures, but we also sold companies to Twitter and Microsoft, among others. And so, and then lastly, storytelling. So we also started Breeder, which was our sister motion design studio, that did the title sequences for the first season of True Detective, for the Amazon show, The Expanse. And so, yeah, I was kind of in and amongst that world as well for the last, decade and a half. And so, yeah, this really was an amazing training bed for me. But it wasn't until the last sort of like 5 years or 6 years that I started to get into AI. But before that, I thought I would give you a bit of a sneak peek of, not sneak peek, but just like a glimpse of the world that I come from, which is definitely more of that design and tech world. So here's an example of that work from the RCA brand refresh that we did.
All right, you ready? What's good? Young Gator coming straight out the hood. I'm just trying to put the spirit, I can't even lie. Amber colored lotus flowers when I touch the sky. I ain't even high.
Another project very different from the music industry is a space company in LA called DTI. And then we've also done a lot of work within the sex tech space. And so this was for a brand refresh for the future of sex. And then a couple of other projects. So this is along similar lines in the feminine well-being space, a rebrand for a company called Moi. We also have done a lot of work in the music space alongside Sony and RCA Records. This is for the website for Bruce Springsteen. We've done it for Elvis and a few others. And like even one of our first ventures was a music platform called We Are Hunted, which we sold to Twitter. And then I was also the lead designer on redesigning MySpace back in the day when Justin Timberlake acquired it. And then this now takes us to my foray into the AI filmmaking space. So it was really around 2024 when I did a Curious Refuge course. And I was really interested in learning about filmmaking, and that felt like a really interesting way to kind of get into it. But I didn't actually finish the course. But it was exactly what I needed to start to understand some of the fundamentals and also brush up on my skills within the AI space. And so, yeah, I don't think I started really sharing any of the work or like really getting into it deep until 2025. And so this was, I think, around April, and this was just a short experimental art form of a film. And that was called Depths. And then my next film was called Gentle. This was a poetic narrative short that ended up winning the Silver Cloud Award at the Omni Film Festival, which was judged by George Miller from Mad Max. And this was, really starting to learn like editing and shot blocking and all of that to establish a cohesive film. And then Gen 48 came around and I entered that and ended up being one of the winners for my film Feast. Again, very visual forward, a little bit darker, very much up my alley. And then lastly was Railbound. This is a film that I actually did during the Google Flow Sessions program alongside Jonathan Perry and Mike Brody. So the film is based on the photography of Mike Brody, who's like a prolific American photographer who spent like a decade train hopping across America and capturing youth in motion and stunning photos. And he gave us access to his published work and his unreleased work, and we could kind of thread together a narrative. So it was sort of part documentary, part fiction. And this is just a little excerpt from that film.
Well, I did dress code back then. I had a lot of cool friends. Corey, that right there, he could fix a radio, any radio, in a blink. Then there was Patrick. And he was cool. He actually had a credit card. Hang a little bit from something. But Oliver, she was kind of like you, always laughing, sticking close. Her and Soup, they were glued. And Soup was different. Coolest of the cool. Craziest man you ever met. Craziest man he'd ever met. Often at odds with himself.
And with that, I'm going to now hand it over to Ezra.
Thank you. Wow, Alex, such an impressive background. I didn't even know all that from you. Cool. So yes, I'm Ezra. Also, we've been working collaboratively, but who am I? Also, Alex is presenting, so bear with us while I tell her to just go to the next slide. So at my core, I'm an artist. I think that is like one of the main identities that I will always hold on to, that I've now expanded my practice into different mediums. My background's really in acting and performance, theater, which kind of led me into writing and directing, and then really into like filmmaking. And then I like to joke that I'm a personality hire.
Does that just mean that people like you?
Yeah, for sure.
Like I just like want to hang out with you. Like, is that what that means?
I think so.
I've never seen that on a resume. I love it.
Yeah, I like to think people like to hang out with me. But yeah, so I think I was extremely just frustrated with what was going on in Hollywood and the industry and the strikes. And basically it came down to this. If I had to do one more self-tape, I was going to combust. And I think a lot of that had to deal with this lack of creative control. And I felt like I had no agency over my career or my practice, which actually pushed me to write, direct, and star in my first short film. You're next. And I'm going to force you folks to watch the trailer.
This isn't working. Not you. You're perfect. I feel this whole character isn't quite there.
Okay, is there
Why don't we just have some fun and explore?
Yeah.
Remind me again, you speak Spanish, right? I mean, he looks like he speaks Spanish.
Something funny? No.
Yeah, I speak Spanish.
Let's do it.
Genius.
Brilliant.
Oh, let's make you Spanish, Latin American, and do an accent.
Is there a specific region you want me to?
Surprise us.
All right, yeah, let's do this. And that experience was honestly one of the most amazing things and one of the most proud projects I got to work on. And I did a crowdfunding campaign, did all this stuff, got a whole crew, flew people out, went into some debt. And it was still, I think, a very personally amazing experience. It didn't really push my career. It didn't lead me to anywhere. And this was actually just before the strikes. And the strikes happened, and I was just feeling like, what the hell am I doing? What's going on? I feel so just stifled. And I feel like this is kind of where desperation breeds innovation. I had a friend who was started dabbling in the AI space and kind of got me to play with a little bit. But then it was really when Gen 48, the fourth edition, which was about a year ago, I got an email about it, and I was like, you know what? Let me just give myself a creative challenge. And the one thing for me, though, is I really wanted to focus on story. It was always story first for me. I think that comes down to my training as an actor and writing and directing, which I think are skills that are extremely, if not the most important thing, that are transferable to AI filmmaking. Like the core premise of a story is still going to remain the same. So anyways, yeah, I made the short film, and I got to do some really cool motion control, motion capture stuff, and ended up winning the Grand Prix, which was kind of my big foray and launch into the AI space. I actually did a presentation about this with Fred like a bit ago, like last year, but I just wanted to showcase my favorite tool. Today is...
Hell if I know. This damn computer's glitching and all the powers come back on.
Right, Oren?
You still offline?
And so, yeah, it was just a really cool experience, and it really just pushed me into the space. And I was like, you know what, let's just lean in. There is a lot of opportunity here, which got me to the inaugural cohort of Google Flow Sessions, where Alex and I actually officially met. We had chatted during Gen 48, but of course, we figured out we lived 7 minutes away from each other and couldn't meet until we were in New York for this Google thing. But this is just a work in progress. I wasn't able to finish it, but I just want to show you kind of like another project that has been really fun to work on. Oh, actually, before you play, just context, it's about this character, Ren, who gets sucked into a TV. His cat on the outside keeps changing the channel, and he goes through different kind of TV episodes. Kai? Hello? What the? Okay. Yeah. Is that music? Where am I? Where am I? Oh my god, that wasn't my voice.
The forest hums, the flowers sway. The birds all harmonize my way.
I sound amazing? Yeah, so that was just an amazing experience. And upon completing that, I was one of the first 3-4 filmmakers hired at Adobe to be part of their Gen Film Lab, which has been such an incredible experience. I've been with them for the past 6 months or so. And it's a really awesome place for just innovation and tooling and thinking about the future of filmmaking. And they really have given me free rein to kind of just work on whatever I want to. And it's just been a great experience. You can go next. And part of it is just like doing experiments. And so one of the things was like, okay, let me incorporate some more of this, performance centric work. And this is just another thing that I have kind of working on in the background.
Oh my god, are we rolling? Oh, hi, I'm Clotho. I spin the threads of life, no biggie. So I'm starting new things constantly. Births, ideas, wars, you name it. But I don't really have to follow up with it because that's just like not my department. Okay, I really have to pee. So can I okay.
Hello, I'm Lachesis. I measure the threads. I oversee length, allocation, and overall timeline integrity. Lifespans, milestones, deliverables. There isn't an official manager here, but I'm the one who makes sure things don't fall apart. And I'm the one who reports to the big boss upstairs. You know what I mean? Zeus. I report to Zeus.
Hello, I'm Atropos. I end things. When a thread is finished, I cut it. I don't make the rules, I just enforce the ending. Which, statistically speaking, is coming for everyone.
Fate sisters. Fate sisters.
And so, yeah, I just had my closing thought was, and this was actually the title of my presentation when I talked with you last time, Fred. But artist first, tool second is still, I think, one of my biggest ethos in this space. And for me, AI is such an incredible tool. For example, like that Face Sisters thing or that Google project, like I have these ideas and I'm excited to get my vision out there. But before it was just so unbelievably inaccessible. And I feel like this is a medium and it gives you resources to kind of just go wild and have fun and just try things in a way that, a lot of people haven't been able to do before. And I just want to make sure that, at my core, it's still, I want to be in control of the project and I'm the artist creating it. And these are tools that help me get there. Thank you.
Yay. Well, I could sit here and watch all of your films all day, Ezra. They're so entertaining. But that now takes us to both our worlds. So from the design tech world to the performance world and film world, we're coming together to now show you our collaboration, LRIP. And so to kick things off, we'll play the film.
Aujourd'hui est mon dernier jour sur Terre. J'ai traversé des océans, j'ai goûté au sel et à la tempête. J'ai fui les ombres sous la courtisan. J'ai aimé et j'ai perdu. Ce qui reste, c'est la dignité. Aujourd'hui, j'ai choisi la mort. Qu'est-ce que c'était? Étrange. Essayons de son corps. Putain! Non, 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 non! Qui est là? Qui es-tu? Hein? Ah, arrête! Laisse-moi mourir en paix! C'est toi! Qu'est-ce que tu es? Hein? Une sorte de dieu? Je ne l'ose pas. Ah, c'est comme ça que tu réponds. Ah, arrête. Ah, j'ai dit arrête. Qu'est-ce que tu veux de moi? Qu'est-ce que tu veux que je fasse? Hein? Tu veux que je prie? C'est ça? Tu veux que je prie? Je ne prie pas. Je ne crois pas en toi. Très bien. Très bien. Si tu es miséricorde, je n'en veux pas. Si tu es punition, je ne la comprends pas. Je n'étais pas parfait, tu le sais. J'ai été emporté par des courants auxquels j'aurais dû résister. J'ai pris quand je n'en avais pas besoin. Mais je ne me suis pas simplement laissé dériver. J'ai nagé là où la vie me portait. J'ai senti l'appel de la marée. J'ai vécu. Peut-être que tu es là. Peut-être pas. Mais si tu es là, je n'ai pas besoin de réponse. Seulement une fin. Merci.
So that was the film. And thanks, Fred.
I love it. It's such a fun film.
Thanks. So we have a bit of a behind the scenes. We actually ran through this on Wednesday evening for a little screening and industry night that we were hosting. And so we won't have time to go through absolutely everything, and we'll kind of zoom past certain things, but definitely happy to take any comments, at the end if there's time. But yeah, so every film starts with a cool concept. What's the big idea? I hit up my friend Jessie Hughes, who's a screenwriter, and I said, do you have any ideas for a short film? She kind of mentioned a few, and then she just said, I kind of have a concept. A fish in a sink that wants to die but is being kept alive by a dripping tap. And I was like, wait, that's really funny. And she didn't have a script, she just had that idea. And so where I start is in Figma, and I'll start pulling references from, obviously the visual standpoint. And it was very vast, different, we were even taking photos of sinks and fish and all of that, and just different references to try and find what it could be. And this was like middle of last year, and I was looking in Midjourney, and I was kind of exploring like this pointillism kind of very dappled kind of style that I didn't mind. And then I was also doing really crappy storyboarding with ChatGPT at the time, and it was just very dodgy. But something wasn't quite inspiring me, so I took a bit of a break, and a few months later, I was invited to be part of the first, the inaugural Google Flow Sessions residency. And like Ezra said, that's where him and I met. It was a 6-week program where you had to make a film with Google Flow. And that's kind of where I think Ezra and I really hit it off. And then cut to Feb of 2026. So that was in September or November of 2025. And then cut to 2026, I invite Ezra over. We're jamming about just like thoughts, ideas. We're just showing each other work. And I reluctantly kind of show him this very crappy animatic of a silent film that Jessie and I were going to make, or I was going to make. And it wasn't going to have dialogue. It was just going to be silent, and it was going to emphasize sound design and visuals. And it was going to be like a super short film. Anyway, I start showing this to him, and he starts riffing this old Frenchman's like existential inner monologue. And I was like, wait, that's really funny. Do you want to write a script for this? And so he did. And Jessie happened to come to LA. She lives in Australia, and we hit it off. We had our sort of like project kickoff, film kickoff in LA, and I think there was just like instant chemistry. But I'll pass it to Ezra now, because this is where he really starts to shine and bring in his love to the film.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, thank you. It was so great. Obviously it's been a dream to work with Alex, a collaborator. We worked really well together. And I think, when Jessie and her told me about this idea, I was like, this is ridiculous. I love it. And how do I push it even further? And also thank you, Jessie, for letting me have free reign with the story. And I kind of just started scripting and doing these ideas, which started to become this kind of like question of God and mortality, and at the end of the day, it's a fish in a sink. Like, it's so stupid, it's so silly, but like, let's lean into that. And I think one of the first things that I really thought of early on, though, was in order to have some contrast, and I think this reveal of a fish, I really wanted to show life outside of it. And I think once that started to happen, it also started to give Alex some more ideas about the visual direction.
Exactly. And so that's where I started to go back into Midjourney. I kind of used this very basic prompt of just like a seaside town just to like get me started. And I really wanted to explore, I think I was looking at Midjourney styles or things that I had saved previously that I wanted to explore. And we always knew it was going to be, we wanted to be tactile. We wanted to be the anti-AI. We wanted it to feel crafted and human made. And so I went really wide again with the exploration. But I think this was happening in tandem with the script. So I hadn't seen the script yet. Once I saw the script, I also started to design out the storyboard using Runway's story panels feature, where you can basically just say, show me a different angle of this shot. And that was really helpful. So I basically got a variety of different angles to kind of match to the beat points of the script that Ezra had written. But the question that we're always asking ourselves is like, how do we make it have soul? And so, not that sort of plasticky AI look. And this is where I think, Ezra and I were having this discussion about, stop motion and wanting to develop maybe a different style that felt, handcrafted. I don't know if you want to mention anything, Ezra.
Yeah, I think like because of that, I was playing this idea that I think a lot of the video generation models were doing a lot of very fluid outputs, which is typically what you want. But a lot of times with certain stop motion feels that we were going for, it might be hard. So I was like, let's play with this idea of frame rates. Can we try and make something, because she also has a much more technical experience than I do. Like, can you make something that helps us just cut out frames so we can kind of see what that looks like, which led her to this vibe coding tool.
Yeah, so I just vibe coded this and I thought, oh, there could be something here where we could vibe code a whole film. But this was based on just like a video I happened to have on my desktop, and I uploaded it and tried these different styles. But what it does is, well, it eats up a huge amount of tokens, and it takes a while to actually generate. And it's incredibly inconsistent between the frames, which for the right type of film would be beautiful and wonderful. But for what we were going for, it wasn't quite the right vibe. But it was great R&D for us anyway. But like I said, I was doing a lot of this before I got the script. And then once I got the script and we started to discuss, even the tone of the film and like the period of it. Like, I think we both agreed it was like 1960s French New Wave, like it was going to be a French coastal town. And I started to think, okay, wait, wouldn't it be cool if this was inspired by European or French painters and artists? And there was, because it has this like philosophical, existential kind of tilt to it, it felt more classical in a sense. And so bringing in a sort of this reference to painters of like the 20th century, that's what I was really interested in. And then when I actually saw this particular piece from Edvard Munch, called Self-Portrait, The Night Wanderer, from around 1920s. It encapsulated perfectly for me the dynamism in the piece. So it's like this really positive tension that's happening between both the contrasting colors, between like the deep rich shades and then the vibrant neons, as well as the almost angsty brushstrokes. And so we wanted to use that as a bit of a reference piece. And throughout the entire film, we use Flora AI as the backbone for all of our shot creation. And so this is a bit of a summary of what that looks like. But for the actual image generations, this is the prompt structure that we use. So we use the Edvard Munch reference to describe the visual style, and then we used our storyboard from Runway shot to describe the scene, and then we merged those. So then we got both style and scene description in one, and then that resulted in this combination. So it was the runway shots with the visual reference, and so those were the exterior scenes, these are the interior scenes, the fish development, and then also the tap. So we have the protagonist and the antagonist of the film depicted in ways that sort of show either their yeah, the domination of the tap, that sort of godly presence, and then sort of the weaker, you know, presence of the fish. And then going back into Figma, again, my platform of choice, bringing all of the updated references back in there to kind of check tonal alignment and consistency. And then when it came to like the video prompting, this is where we used Flora again for understanding how we could get the sort of control and consistency between each of the shots. And so to do that, we wanted to separate out all of the different parts of what makes a good prompt. So, you know, there's the description of the image itself, action and camera movements, character motion, environmental motion, and then two here that don't never change, which is like the animation style and the constraints. And so animation style was really important, and that's what allowed us to get what we ended up with in terms of that hand painted stop motion aesthetic, where it looks like each frame is like an oil painting on rough canvas, but brushstrokes continuously shift and reconfigure. And so then you concatenate all of that into a prompt. And then because of the way that we set this up, it makes it really easy. So each row is basically its own shot sequence. And then you basically are just hitting buttons, or you're maybe slightly tweaking the copy in the Flora.
Yeah, and something to add here, which was really awesome, because once again, we were working on this collaboratively. And I think sometimes a lot of the questions we've been asked are, how do you guys make a film collaboratively in AI? And this, for us, I think was the backbone of it, because once we had this structure, I was able to also just go in, take these things, and then refine them for whatever generations I was doing. She did the same thing for hers, but it really helped us keep consistency throughout the film.
Exactly. And that is the benefit of a tool like these node-based tools. Like Ezra and I can literally be in the file together and doing things, but he raises a good point. So as like Gen 48 winners, as people that are part of creative partner programs, you do get access to a lot of credits with other platforms. And so we do like to make use of that. And so we used Runway, we used Leo, we used Adobe, we used whatever we could get our hands on, because this stuff does get expensive. And so whilst Flora was the backbone for us, it allowed us to keep organization of everything. And like Ezra said, like if we needed to go back to the prompt, we would know exactly where it is. And so we would just bring that into Runway, would bring it into Adobe, whatever it was, use it like that. But of course, as we all know, not everything's perfect, and you get the most wild outcomes. I'm pretty sure from memory that even that top left one was just like pan into the fish or something, like something really basic, and it does this like absolutely wild thing, which again, for the right film, some of this stuff could be hella cool, very psychedelic, but not quite right. Ezra, do you want to take it over?
Yeah, so we were, we kind of had this self-imposed deadline, and we were like, okay, we have about a week to get it done, and let's just smash it out. Like I said earlier, we live 7 minutes away from each other, so she invited me over to her apartment, and we were there just to complete the last 10% of the film. But of course, Seance 2.0 was just released in the States. And we're like, you know what, let's just do some tests and see if we can kind of capture a little bit more of what we were hoping for. And you can see here, we were originally using Kling for the entire generations. We were, like I said, about 90% done. Started to do some Seance tests, which were on the 2.0 on the bottom row. And it really started to get that much more tactile, moving texture, which is exactly what we were hoping for from the get-go. And I think we were both kind of like, yeah, this is great. And I was kind of like, yeah, but we're also basically done with the film. And this is where Alex decides to tell me that we're going to redo every single shot on Seance.
And Ezra
was
super happy about it.
It's okay. I kept my cool. I was like, okay, we are doing this. We're doing this.
So this was basically us over that weekend when we decided. So we just went full cat mania, just full speed ahead in Flora and craziness and Runway and everything. And we managed to get it done, which was incredible.
Yeah. And I think just to Alex's point, once again, we had the shots organized and had the prompt structures laid out. And without that, it would have been a disaster because we literally just replugged them in and got outputs.
Exactly.
We don't have to play the whole thing, but here's just a little session of my VO. Because I also, like I said, perform eccentric. I knew from the get-go I didn't want to do a generative voice. I wanted to make sure that it had human behind it. Hello. I am in London and I couldn't get access to my friend's studio, so I am doing the voiceover in my friend's car. Let me find the best place to put this. Nope. Okay. But I don't really speak French. Je parle un peu français. Un peu de français. Here we fucking go. Aujourd'hui est mon dernier jour sur Terre. Putain! Non, 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 non! Qu'est-ce que tu es? Hein? Une sorte de Dieu. Fuck. Une sorte de Dieu. Dieu. Qu'est-ce que tu veux que je fasse? Que je fasse? Fasse? Qu'est-ce que tu veux que je fasse? Non. Fuck. J'ai été importé par des... I've never actually read this aloud in French, so let's do these. Yeah, and so as you can see, it was a journey to get this VO done. But part of it is once I got it done, I used 11 Labs, which is this awesome tool for those of you who don't know, where you can upload WAV files, audio files, and transfer them. And so I did that with a French voice. She's gonna play this wave or these visualizers. The top is the 11 Labs. The bottom white one is my raw voice. Aujourd'hui est mon dernier jour sur Terre. J'ai traversé des océans. J'ai goûté au sel et à la tempête. J'ai fui les ombres sur la coque des hommes. And so yeah, I just thought it was a really incredible tool that really helped us kind of seal in the vibe that we were going for. And then the edit, which I was the editor. And I've said this before, I hate editing, but I love control. And so it's kind of these two things that I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And it was really awesome because I think, when we talk about traditional film editing versus AI film editing, there's a lot of similarities, of course. You're trying to find continuity, consistency. But I think what was really fun about this project was I had the VO done before we had all the generations done. And so I kind of started placing the audio to help us figure out the pacing and rhythm of the short. And simultaneously, as we were generating videos, I would start putting them there and putting them in like little, it felt like a little puzzle, or like I've said this also, like it felt like kind of finger painting because we had a storyboard that Alex had set up, but we started to kind of take a different approach on it as we started building it. And it was just a very fluid, I think, process. That's what was really cool about AI editing. And then also, so I forced my coworker at Adobe, who is in this audio sound stream, to come on as a sound designer. And he originally was trying to use some more generative AI tooling systems for the sound, but it wasn't working. So he and his friend, they're based in Belgium, in Brussels, were like, we're doing a Foley session. And so here's a little clip of them there. And then we have a few examples of like how it turned out.
J'ai aimé et j'ai perdu. Ah, arrête! Ah, arrête!
And then that brings us to picture lock and getting the coloring done. So we hired a colorist, a good friend of Ezra's, Jamie Fundulis, and we showed him the original reference. And like everyone I'm sure on this call knows, that as much as you even use a starting reference, with AI, it still gets wildly inconsistent with the quality of the colors in each of the scenes. And so we want to make sure that this felt like a professional film and that it had consistency and cohesion throughout each of the shots and the sequences. So he came in and did a really lovely job. So you can kind of see here before and after. Before on the left, It had just different colors and different shots. So this one's really purple, and then it goes back to being blue. So we just evened that out across all of the shots. He did a fantastic job, despite not having like raw files. Like he's just kind of editing the MP4s essentially. And then finally, kind of rounding out the process of making this film, another point to mention is that I did vibe code a tool to add this sort of stop motion wiggle kind of effect to the end credits. And it is really powerful using these vibe coded techniques to kind of do things that you just wouldn't have thought of doing before, that may have just taken a lot of time in After Effects or any other tool. And so here I could just like batch upload all of the credits and then use this sort of parametric layout to be able to slide across what exactly I wanted and then export them as MP4s. So to round that out, we had one 1920s image reference, we had 2 songs from the 1800s, we had 6 humans, 2 core AI models, and 1 very fun idea. So thank you very much for listening to our talk.
That was awesome. I mean, I want to let questions come in from the audience. I mean, so cool to see. Obviously, the intention. I don't know if this was at the beginning to create such a manifold set of tools. Like again, somebody might watch something like this and think that the whole thing was just prompt to video, effectively. That you went out of your way to, you know, use Foley and all these other like classic techniques, which, you know, ultimately it's I don't sense you did it out of some kind of like sense of duty. I think it was better. Like it created better intention. It created more interesting range of possibilities when you had an expert sound designer use their tools that may or may not be, you know, sort of uploaded into a data set. And then for you to also have this layer of like that when something was unavailable, you would just create your own tool with the vibe coding solutions. Where were you doing the vibe coding? Was it AI Studio? Was it Lovable? Or what were your kind of vibe code tools?
Yeah, so I currently work at Block, which is a big tech company, Square Cash App title, and we're privileged to work on a lot of different tools, and so but for this one, whenever I'm doing something that's fairly just like almost like one-shot prompt or just very contained, like I don't need to publish it or anything like that, I will often just default to Google AI Studio because it is one of the most user-friendly ways of getting involved, because you already have your APIs or access to Nano Banana and other, you know, VO and whatever. So that's kind of what I default to. But I use like Cursor, I use like Claude Code, I use a bunch.
I mean, when mentioning AI Studio, I mean that's for anybody that started tuning into the new Omni launch from Gemini, Google. As I was just scrolling through all the new features, I'm like, all right, they're playing catch up over here. Cdance has got them over here. Like you can't help but play. But when I saw the toolkit, hearing you that you were, I don't know if you had early access to something like that, but that felt like the thing that we're probably going to see the most invention out of, and it sounds like it's very literally what you were doing some version of. Do you agree, or?
Potentially, I actually haven't caught up with the Omni thing yet. Yeah, but possibly.
Yeah, I'll screen share while you. But a few other people had questions. There's a really interesting observation that I don't know if this was intention, like the drip. Phil, I think I don't know how to say the rest of your name. Apologies, but Phil says, found it very moving. A fish in a sink is no different from a person in hospice. Was that intentional? Like, were you alluding to that very literally, or is that something that we all discovered? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Sorry.
Do you want to go ahead? Okay. I was gonna say no, not literally. I think for me though, my whole goal was how do we humanize the fish? How, you know, I always think about the audience. If I want someone to watch this, you know, the fish is the protagonist. How do we make someone relate to the fish? How do they see themselves in the fish? And I think like part of it was just like, how do we make it as human as possible? But I do think, you know, in terms of just like hospice or other things of that sort, it was this question of, you know, mortality, you know, to live, to die. And I think that's just obviously one of the most human thoughts, no matter what. And I think that helped ground it in a much more like like without making it campy, right? Because it's a silly thing, but it is such a like more like depthful meaning behind it.
Totally. And I'll probably just add as well that, that for context, Jesse came up with the idea during the pandemic, if that gives you any extra color.
Getting Coca-Cola Atomica has a question about the vibe coding. I was just going to screen share, and this might give you something to bounce off to, the Google Flow toolkit that I mentioned, which I think is pretty relevant to what you played with. So inside of the new updated Google Flow, among the, character and media, like normal video stuff, they have this tool section. So these are all their kind of pre-existing tools. I mean, they're all fun to play with and sort of varying degrees of ready to go, but you can see that I think they got the note that people are doing what you're doing, Alex. And then in addition, they even have this create tool option where you basically, from where I'm sitting, it looks like a direct access, as you say, to where AI Studio has Nana Banana, it has VO, in it. So it's very cool. And I think, but for what you guys did, what can you talk a little bit more about your vibe coding process?
Yeah, I mean, and to that particular part of the question where it's like, how was the process of recognizing the need for it? That's actually something that I talk about a lot at work and in other communities where, I think the first part of getting into anything got to do with AI really is first recognizing where it makes sense to use it and being, when you're in the flow, being like, oh, actually, I could potentially use AI to help me do this thing. Sometimes you don't even recognize it. You don't pause to think, oh, this actually could be done in a more efficient way, or I could actually just try vibe coding something. And so a big part of my work is always looking at creative tooling and looking at ways that you could do things through tools that you ordinarily, so like, it's just like taking the time to be like, oh yeah, like, why don't we, like, if I want this to animate, instead of going to Midjourney or Runway or whatever and trying to do it image to video, like, you can actually come up with a parametric tool that can do that. And so once you open up your mind to just like, or experiencing one tool like that, then it starts to unlock like other things that you can potentially do in the future as well.
So just to the question, which platform and it
was just Google AI Studio, it was just I basically just said I want to make a tool that allows me to upload a text in an image, and I want you to make it wiggle, and I want you to have a bunch of sliders on the side, and I want to be able to export it as a MP4, and then that's how it kind of starts, and you'll see how quickly it will actually generate something for you that's quite workable and useful, and you'll probably be like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then you'll probably spend 90% of your time on the last 10% of getting it right, because that's like the most painful part.
Yeah, I mean, you can see, Google AI Studio, aistudio.google.com, I'm pretty sure it's free, or especially if you have a Gmail account, like you can just go play. Some of us use it in workshops to get people just getting started on vibe coding. Exactly. But clearly, I think they got the note on flowing it into Flow. I hope that answers your question, Coca-Cola Atomica. But I also I don't know, I'm not trying to over puff this, but I think it's really cool. It's very cool to add new things to tinker with. I mean, as if people are at a loss for tinkering, but I'm not sure, I made this sound ridiculous, but like Stanley Kubrick wants to make 2001, he wants to figure out a really cool way to do space. So he goes to finds a new type of lens for the camera. He doesn't just hang out at the store until they show him what he wants. He goes and creates a lens. And I think it was a NASA lens. I'm sorry if I'm overstating the comparison here. I think you guys had a fun movie about a fish. But I'm just saying it's that type of thinking that I think gets us all to unlock that this is actually where that technology and storytelling bug has always been for filmmaking, and to think that you're not just stopping at the user's manual on what the vibe coding, you're like, wait, I actually have this motion graphics effect that I just want to use for all my titles. Why am I waiting for somebody to make that for me? That's so cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I did just compare you to Kubrick, so you can take that home with you. Go for it. Sorry.
See, there is another question here where it was, did you use all text prompts instead of reference images for things like style, etc.? When I was first exploring, I just used text prompts. But when we landed on the visual reference from Edvard Munch, we use that to retain consistency, but you use that. So it's kind of like both. It's like you use the image, but then you describe the image so that when you're feeding in a prompt, you're using as much flowery language as possible, descriptive language as possible, to make sure that you're really doing justice to the end outcome. So it's kind of using both to just strengthen it.
I think we're close to the hour, but I just also want to shout out, I think a lot of us are in these conversations, and everybody always reminds us that it's always all about storytelling, like, which is either absolutely true or kind of annoying that that's where the conversation ends, because we want to go deeper than that sometimes. I feel like it's a bit of this blanket statement but I do think watching this film a few times, it's really fun to see that you took a true storytelling challenge. How do I get inside the emotional soul of a fish? I mean, that's complicated in any medium, and I think that the tools of editing, like just the cinematic use of score, like you guys are really playing with how to tell sort of a complicated story. I always go back to this quote I heard Nick Cleveroff say once of just, here's a film that wouldn't have been made otherwise, in terms of just like when you guys talk about the style shifts, like, oh, I'm going for pointillism, I'm going for what ended up being more of this like oil painting, and then combining that with stop motion, a lot of things, that is such like whoever has the type of resources to really do that with old school animation techniques, to think that you're just iterating it and changing your mind, it really shows us how far down that saying we can go of here's something that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And I love how much you guys have brought everybody into the process. Just being here today, the in-person event that you guys did, I suspect that's a good look for all of us to keep sharing our work, because it attracts interested partners, as you guys already met each other, but it's also just a great sign of the moment of how we're all learning and sharing in public, which is kind of what we're all about here with GenTalks. But if anybody else has any other questions, like, please drop them in the chat. But any other things that, like, when you think about where you guys are going next, how should we keep following you? Is there any stuff you want to promote of your next big plays? Now that you have Seance and apparently Flow and other things that keep dropping in.
We're taking a break, but always pondering, thinking about like what could be next. I know I want Ezra to make his little show, the Fate Sisters. But yeah, I feel like you can follow us on YouTube, on socials. I think you can find us easily. It's Ezra Li, Ezra.Li, and Alex Naghavi across everything. But yeah, Ezra, anything next for you? You're in Mexico. You're chilling.
Yeah, I got to Mexico City last night, and I'm here for a week, and then I'm going to a wedding. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a second. This past week was insane. But no, I think I'm excited to work on these. I feel like I have a bank of ideas that I want to kind of just start playing with, which I think that is one of the amazing things about AI. And I think Alex and I will probably collaborate again. And yeah, after we get some R&R, but yes.
Really appreciate you guys jumping in with us. I love being inspired by both of you. I hope I get to work with you guys on something cool, because you guys seem like a lot of fun. I guess we'll be filming the whole time, if I'm getting the vibe of what it means to work with either of you. It's a reality show.
Yeah, you'll be on camera a lot, Fred.
Those great unscripted moments when someone says, let's switch models. That's hilarious. Actually, one last question. It seems like they used Describe to convert images to text prompts instead of submitting the image themselves as references. Is that true? Like you were describing images versus the actual images?
I think we may have been doing both. I can't remember actually. But I just know that describing the image just adds so much more control to the prompt itself. So I think if we didn't...
It's possible it's in addition. So like as you're doing the concatenation, smoothing.
That's so dumb. I should find that. I'm pretty,
description,
pretty sure.
Style, aesthetic. Are those 4 different prompts that are all ending up in one system prompt?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's always just like one concatenated prompt that is used to either create an image or create a video.
Very cool. Looks like you got a couple friends in Mexico to hang out with, Ezra. A few people in the chat.
Oh, amazing.
Gilberto, legendary. Guys, thank you so much. I hope everybody has an amazing long holiday weekend. So for a lot of us here in LA and anybody traveling to LA, we have AI in the Lot next week. We're going to be doing some machine cinema adventures. We have a scavenger hunt on Friday using generative sort of the secrets and excitements. Jay Judah and his team are pulling that together. And then we have a big Gen Jam on Thursday, which we don't normally get to promote the way we normally do. So for anybody here, anybody who watched this, come to AI in the Lot and find our Gen Jam on Thursday, because we normally get to put out a big invite, but here we're just making noise. But that's been a mainstay for us to do Gen Jams at AI in the Lot. So we're excited to do it for a third year in a row. We have some really cool stuff happening in LA coming up soon, but next week, we haven't sent out the message, but I see Ben Relison here. He has a lot to announce on his new company that he just announced. We're going to get to finally sit down with him. He's a good friend, been a big friend of Machine Cinema. We're excited to sit down with him. We might do it live at the Lighthouse here in Venice. But just as a reminder, anybody that hasn't gotten the message, we have free codes for CopySite that will be dropped in the chat again, and also in the way we repost this. Most AI creators have no idea if their output is too close to something that's protected, and that's exactly where things get expensive. CopySite is an IP detection tool that scans your AI-generated content and flags potential copyright conflicts before they become problems. And if you're shipping creative work, it's a tool that should be in your toolkit. And then our friends at Flick, who we will be doing more work with, we have a Robo Dojo coming up with them, where they're going to show us their tool in deep. But if you've ever had 5 AI tools open at once, re-explaining your project to each one, Flick is built for you. It's a generative computer for creative professionals, text, image, video, and audio all in one system that actually remembers your context across sessions. Not a chatbot, but not a general purpose tool, but something built specifically for the kind of work our community does. Thank you guys, everybody. Have a great holiday weekend here in America and other parts of the world. Enjoy your Mondays. I will see you guys next time. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.